I now give the floor to the representative of Kenya to introduce an address by the head of state.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it is my privilege and honor as the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kenya to present the pre-recorded video statement by His Excellency Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, during the general debate of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly. I thank you.
Your Excellency Abdullah Sahid, President of the 76th session of the General Assembly, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by saying how delighted I am to join you today in this 76th session of the General Assembly. And I want to take this very early opportunity to congratulate you, Mr. President, on your election to preside over the 76th session. And I want to assure you of Kenya's full support during your tenure. The theme of this year's session, Building Resilience Through Hope to Recover from COVID-19, has inspired my address to you today. Indeed, our Secretary General, in his report to our common agenda, observed, and I quote him, "Humanity faces a stark and urgent choice: break down or break through." The world needs to take seriously this warning from the Secretary General. In doing this, I urge the following immediate multilateral actions. The first is that we must put equitable global vaccine access at the core of building back better from this COVID-19 pandemic. And the second is that we need to provide tangible climate financial support to developing countries and ensure that a significant portion of green manufacturing is located in developing countries. Third, we must align our conflict resolution tools to the strategic shift in threats to regional and international peace and security. Fourth, we must strengthen the competence of states to manage diversity and regional trust between citizens and institutions, and between citizens and their leaders. As of a week ago, over 5,000 Kenyans had succumbed to COVID-19. We mourn these Kenyans, together with the over 4.7 million lives that have been lost around the world. The pandemic's devastating impact on global travel, tourism, our supply chains, investment, has caused the deepest economic recession in nearly a century. We here in Kenya responded swiftly and boldly to contain the pandemic, and as a result, the human toll, though most distressing, pales in comparison to other parts in the world. While we also undertook measures to cushion different sectors of our economy, the economic pain has been pronounced. Now is the time to rebuild, And to rebuild successfully requires a worldwide response in confidence and investment to enable production and consumption to bounce back to pre-pandemic levels. The surest way to build that confidence is by making vaccines available to the world in an equitable and accessible manner. And that, sadly, does not happen to be the case today. The asymmetry in the supply of vaccines reflects a multilateral system that is unfortunately in urgent need of repair. At the heart of the global effort to building back better, we must make concerted structural changes that should enable a quantum increase in investment and technology transfers, and this not as charity, but instead driven by enlightened self-interest and solidarity. A fast-developing Africa will offer the entire world the benefit of its demographic dividend of youth and vast investment opportunities. Africa can become an engine of sustainable global growth, but also as an exporter of peace, stability, and transformative prosperity. Your Excellencies, many leaders have noted on previous occasions the need to deliver concurrently economic recovery linked to climate change action. As COP26 approaches, we should aim to make clear commitments that contribute to developing country investments in green manufacturing and infrastructure that we require. A green building back better that delivers jobs as well as shared prosperity will win the support of the young generation and intensify the drive towards climate change action. Kenya is ready to become a leading green industry country. We have mounted a strong climate change response. We have submitted an updated national determined contribution plan that aims to lower greenhouse emissions by 32% by the year 2030. Kenya also has a green economy strategy and implementation plan 2016-2030, which will enable us to achieve a higher economic growth as well as supporting a low-carbon development path. We too here in Kenya have also identified a range of ocean-based adaptation priorities to integrate ocean-based climate solutions with global responses to climate change. We look forward to co-hosting the second United Nations Oceans Conference with Portugal in late June 2022 to galvanize commitments and partnerships that will promote ambitious global ocean action and scale up investments in our blue economy. This will follow Kenya's successful co-hosting of the first global Sustainable Blue Economy Conference that we held in 2018 with Japan, Canada, amongst other global partners. Mr. President, Kenya is blessed with a youthful and indeed well-educated and productive population that has managed to build one of the most vibrant mixed economies on the African continent. We are implementing ambitious programs to prepare our country to produce decent and rewarding jobs for these young people. Our investments in road, air, and port infrastructure, as well as critical healthcare facilities throughout our country, are the most extensive and ambitious in our history as a nation. We have also delivered a national competency-based curriculum and on universal access to schooling, which will further boost the competitiveness of our workforce. Indeed, I am also simultaneously focusing on the immediate needs of our people. We have targeted 3.3 million households across our country that are most at risk, and in the process achieved a 50% reduction in the number of food insecure Kenyans. By next year, we will have achieved a 27% reduction in malnutrition among children under the age of 5, created 1,000 agro-processing SMEs, and 600,000 new jobs. We also have recorded a 48% increase in our agricultural contribution. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as the President in office of the African, Caribbean, and Pacific States Organization, I convened and chaired an extraordinary intersessional virtual summit at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in June last year. We also made the Nairobi Nguvu-ya-Pamoja Declaration, calling on the need to transcend the COVID-19 pandemic through global solidarity. I also recently hosted the inaugural African CARICOM Summit, during which we re-established the critical need for peoples of African descent to strengthen our economic and political linkages. It was a historic and proud moment for me personally to be part of the great legacy of the Pan-Africanist agenda globally. What ties these events and others that I have participated in during the last year is the collective conviction that the global system is not working well for all our people and all our regions. The unequal trade and investment patterns, the outflows of illicit finance and inflows of illicit small arms and light weapons, the extraction versus production mentality are all escalating global inequality, fragility, conflict, and violence. Many of the tools at our disposal to deal with these challenges are not living up to their promise. One such core tool is the United Nations Security Council, in which Kenya has been elected an active member since the beginning of this year. In October of 2021, Kenya will assume the presidency of the Security Council. During that period, I will chair several signature events, and these include: 1, how we can make an appreciation for diversity a core aim in promoting state building and pursuit of peace. The second, how small illicit arms and light weapons impact peacekeeping operations globally. And third, is how to better support and promote women peacekeepers and peace builders. Ladies and gentlemen, in many countries we are witnessing state fragility that leads to protracted crisis. This fragility is driven mainly by inability of countries to manage diversity within nations, thus offering militant and terrorist groups opportunities to create social discontent and control large territories within affected countries. The tools to deal with these crises are not proving adequate. So together, we must work to improve these capabilities. The most important task we can undertake is to increase the competence of the states to manage both political and social diversity within their nations. Indeed, countries must do so in a way that strengthens the trust between citizens and public institutions, and citizens and their leaders. I believe that the tough experiences that Kenya has had and our determination to rise above them are a good case study for other states. So, Mr. President, I am proud to lead a country that has worked hard to deepen its democracy and to entrench the rule of law, embracing all in the society, irrespective of race, color, gender, or religious affiliation. Throughout my tenure as president, I have led a nation that is marching towards the attainment of the greatness that we believe is in us. I am proud to have furthered that ambition by building bridges of unity and inclusion for all. I want every Kenyan to know and to be proud of how our nation, Kenya, is highly regarded in the community of nations. Kenyans must never forget the hand of friendship that extended to us on various times by many states seated in this General Assembly, nor what our contribution has been to the international community. And finally, Kenya must never forget those countries that are still struggling against occupation and illegal sanctions that cause suffering and undermine the human rights of people in our world. As I conclude, we offer our solidarity and commitment as a member state of the United Nations to undertake the journey to build back to recovery and to prosperity, building forward better in a multilateral system that is fair, inclusive, and effective. Mr. President, thank you.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defence Forces of the Republic of Kenya for the statement just made. The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Juan Orlando Hernandez Alvarado, President of the Republic of Honduras. I request protocol to